Hi, 7th graders. Today's learning target is I can find the perimeter and area of semicircles and quarter circles. Before we get to what a semicircle and quarter circle is, let's review some circle vocabulary. First, the radius is the distance from the center of a circle to the outside of a circle. This is also half the distance across the circle. The diameter is the full distance across the circle. Remember, it has to pass through the center. Pi is a constant that we use in calculating circumference and area. You can use 3.14 for the shortened version of pi. The circumference is the distance around the circle, and the area is the space inside of a circle. You'll see below is the formula for circumference and the formula for area. All right, so let's review some full circles a little bit. See if you can find the circumference of the 3 circles below. Let's pause the video while you find those. All right, so for circumference, we're multiplying pi times the diameter. So for this first problem, we're going to do 3.14 times 12. If you type that into your calculators, you should get 37.68. And those are meters. All right, the second one, you're going to do 7 times 3.14. If you type that into a calculator, you should get 21.98 centimeters. All right, and the last one, notice it gives us the radius. So the radius is halfway across the circle. So if it's 5 inches across, that means the full length across is going to be 10 inches. So if we do 10 times 3.14, hopefully you can do that without a calculator. That is going to be 31.4 inches. All right, so then the next part, area is pi times the radius squared, which means times itself. So for this first circle, we're going to have pi times 3 times 3. So if we type that into our calculator, we should get 28.26. All right, the next one, we have pi times 7 times 7, or pi times 49. If we type that into our calculators, we should get 153.86. And then the last one, notice it gives us the diameter. If it's 4 units all the way across the circle, that means halfway across the circle will be 2 units. So we do pi times 2 times 2. If we type that into our calculators, we get 12.56. All right, hopefully you are remembering how to calculate circumference and area for a full circle, because now we're going to talk about semi and quarter circles. All right, so a semicircle means half of the circle. So if we're calculating area, we find the area of the whole circle, and then we just multiply it by a half because we want to know half of what the full area is. So if we had a circle, like this first one, with a radius of 2, to calculate the area of the full circle, we would do 3.14 times 2 times 2, which is 12.56. So now for a semicircle, we're just going to divide that by 2, or multiply by a half, same thing, and we'll get that the area is 6.28 inches squared. Now we use squared for units because area is 2-dimensional instead of just measuring one distance where we just say a unit. All right, the next one has a radius of 3. So for the full circle, we would do 3.14 times 3 times 3. Now we're just going to divide that by 2, and we get our area of the semicircle is 14.13. All right, so perimeter is a little different because we can't just find half of the circumference. Half of the circumference will give us this distance, but then we also have to add the diameter, the distance across. So for circumference of a semicircle, or the perimeter of a semicircle, you're going to find half of the circumference plus the diameter. You'll see that formula right here. So pi d plus the diameter. All right, so if we find that on this first one, we have 3.14 times half of the diameter is 2, plus the diameter 4 gives us 10.28 inches. All right, and then we have another example. The radius is 3, That means the diameter is 6. That's an equal sign. So the perimeter is pi times half of the diameter plus the diameter, which if we type that in a calculator, we get 15.42 centimeters. All right, lastly, we have quarter circles. A quarter circle is just 1/4 of a circle. So area, pretty simple. We find the area for the whole circle, and then we just find 1/4 of that. So in this first example, you'll see we have a radius of 2. So we plug in our pi r squared, and then we find 1/4 of it, which gives us 3.14 inches squared. All right, and then the next one, the edge got a little cut off here. If you want to add that into your notes, go for it. You'll see our radius is 3, so we have our formula for the area of the full circle, 3.14 times 3 times 3, or times 3 squared. And then we find 1/4 of that, which will give us 7/65 centimeters squared. All right, so just like semicircles, the perimeter is a little trickier because we have 1/4 of the circumference here, but then we also have the radius and the radius. Remember, 2 radiuses is the same as the diameter. In this case, our radius is 2, so our diameter is 4. So we can just find 1/4 of the circumference and then add the diameter. So we'll see our formula for the full circumference is 3.14 times 4. We find 1/4 of that, and then we add the diameter of 4. This will give us 7.14 inches. All right, and then this next one got a little cut off again, so if you want to add that side length, go ahead. You'll see our formula for the full circumference right here, pi times 6, because if our radius is 3, our diameter is 6. So then we find 1/4 of that, which gives us the length of this. And then we add the diameter because that's twice the radius, which is that length. So the full perimeter is 10⁻⁴ centimeters. All right, so you've now learned how to find the area and perimeter of a semi and a quarter circle. I want you to pause the video, see if you can find the area and perimeter of a semicircle with a diameter of 10 and of a quarter circle with a radius of 8. So pause the video and then you will see the answers pop up on the screen and you can check to see if you're right.